OnlyFans model was arrested in Hawaii on Wednesday, suspected of stabbing her boyfriend to death in Miami back in April.
We are charging 26-year-old Courtney Taylor Clenney with 1 count of second-degree murder in Christian's death.
She had a history of attacking.
Sorry. Just shut up! Give me my phone! Find it! Find it! Charge it!
Just let me apologize.
No! Right now, like, I have not always been the victim, but like right now I'm a freaking victim in the situation. I'm scared to go downstairs and let my dog. I want a restraining order against Christian Obumseli.
I can't let this okay.
It wasn't. It was I was self-defense. My mom was on the phone.
Now, OnlyFans creator Courtney Clenney was facing murder charges for the death of her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli. But 4 years after Courtney stabbed Christian to death inside their Miami apartment, she just pleaded guilty to manslaughter and got 6 years in prison. And because she's already been locked up since 2022, she has around 2 years left to serve of her sentence. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember this story because it went viral a few years ago. And at the time, this looked like it was going to be a pretty straightforward case. I mean, after all, Courtney admitted that she stabbed Christian and that the stabbing ultimately killed him. But Courtney maintained from the beginning that she acted in self-defense. And once investigators started digging into what was actually happening inside this relationship, the case became a lot more complicated than it initially appeared. Because long before Christian died, there were already signs that this relationship had become extremely toxic. Courtney and Christian started dating around 2020, and from the outside, they looked like another young couple living a flashy Miami lifestyle. Courtney had built a following online, was making serious money through OnlyFans. It was later revealed that she made more than $900,000 in 2020 during the pandemic and more than $1.8 million in 2021. By early 2022, the two were living together in a luxury apartment overlooking Biscayne Bay. But behind closed doors, their relationship was already falling apart. Police have been called multiple times. Neighbors complained about constant fighting, and the complaints got so bad that residents as far as 2 floors away were reporting disturbances. And building management was even looking into legal action to have the couple evicted. Now, both Courtney and Christian would eventually accuse the other of being abusive, and there were already incidents that made it clear things had gotten physical. In July of 2021, Courtney was arrested in Las Vegas after a domestic violence incident involving Christian. During that incident, Prosecutors said Courtney admitted throwing a glass at Christian and acknowledged that she liked throwing things at him. Then over the following months, Christian started sending messages describing Courtney allegedly hitting him, spitting on him, and even stabbing him. In one exchange, Christian accused Courtney of stabbing him in the leg so badly that he could barely walk. And that wasn't the only alleged stabbing before his death. In January 2022, Christian suffered 2 serious cuts to his face that required stitches at the hospital. And in messages from that same night, Courtney told him, "Enjoy the hospital." And in another, Courtney apologized for hitting him in the face and the back of the head and for spitting on him. So by the time they moved into their Miami apartment in early 2022, this wasn't just a couple arguing. There was already a documented pattern of violence surrounding their relationship. Christian was also secretly recording some of their arguments on his phone. In those recordings, Courtney can be heard screaming at him, berating him, and repeatedly using racial slurs, while Christian is often heard apologizing and trying to calm things down. And then just a few weeks before Christian died, cameras inside their apartment building captured one of the most infamous moments in the entire case.
Noise complaints were common, releasing a video showing
The elevator footage of Courtney viciously beating Christian was recorded in February of 2022, just weeks before Christian was killed. And when prosecutors later released it, they pointed to the video as evidence that Courtney had been physically aggressive toward Christian long before the fatal stabbing. And the elevator video wasn't the only footage like this. Another video later released from a trip to Aspen showed Courtney striking Christian repeatedly during another argument. But this is where the story starts getting deeper, because just 2 days before Christian died, police were called back to their apartment building, and this time Courtney was the one asking them for help.
You want this person to completely disappear from your life. At the same time, you have him in your apartment here for 2 months with a ton of stuff in here.
On April 1st, 2022, Building staff called police after another disturbance between the couple. And according to one employee, Christian had come charging toward Courtney in the lobby, and staff tried to get between them. When officers eventually arrived, Courtney was visibly upset. She told police that Christian was stalking her, said she was scared to even go downstairs and walk her dogs, and repeatedly asked how she could get a restraining order against him. At one point, she told the officers, "I have not always been a victim, but like right now, I am the victim in this situation." The problem was that Christian had been living in the apartment and still had his belongings there. So police explained to Courtney that they couldn't simply kick him out or trespass him from his own residence. The next day, Courtney emailed building management disputing part of what staff said had happened. She insisted the encounter never became physical and complained that police had been called unnecessarily. And somehow, despite Courtney telling police that she wanted Christian out of her life, the two reconciled. So the two had actually separated during the final week of March while Courtney's mother was visiting, with Christian moving out of the apartment, but they rekindled their relationship on April 1st. Christian returned to the apartment, and just 2 days later, he would be dead. On April 3rd, 2022, Courtney and Christian were back together inside their Miami apartment. Earlier that afternoon, things appeared relatively normal. Christian left the apartment to pick up food and returned a little after 4:30 p.m. Surveillance showed him returning at around 4:32 p.m. with Subway sandwiches and the couple's 2 dogs. At around the same time, Courtney had just finished and uploaded an Instagram live. But within minutes, another argument started. Courtney called her mother during the confrontation, and according to investigators, her mother later said she could hear Courtney telling Christian to leave, accusing him of lying. Around the same time, neighbors and building staff were already becoming concerned enough about the disturbance that security contacted 911. Then at around 9:57 p.m., Courtney made her own 911 call.
So my boyfriend is dying of a stabbing.
Investigators ultimately concluded that the stabbing happened within a roughly 13-minute window between 4:30 p.m. and 4:57 p.m. And this is where everything changed. Christian had been stabbed in the chest. On the call, Christian can be heard saying that he was dying and that he couldn't feel his arm, while Courtney repeatedly apologized and begged for help. When police and paramedics arrived, they found Christian bleeding heavily inside the apartment. Courtney was covered in his blood and told officers that she had been trying to save him. Investigators also later pointed to a text Courtney received from her mother at around 5:27 p.m. that mentioned self-defense and advised Courtney not to speak with investigators without an attorney. Christian was rushed to the hospital, but doctors were unable to save him. He was 27 years old. Courtney was questioned for almost 3 hours afterward.
Unfortunately, the doctors did what they could.
Christian is dead.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Still wearing her blood-stained clothes for part of the interview, and footage later released showed the moment detectives finally told her that Christian had died. Courtney never denied that she was the person who stabbed him. The entire question from that moment forward was, why did she do it though? Because Courtney's story was that Christian had attacked her first. She claimed that Christian shoved her against the wall by the neck, threw her to the ground,
threw me against the wall, choked me. I mean, you're looking like this. He's never like choked me to where like it's like crazy stuff. But like, I mean, I couldn't breathe. Okay. Then he put me on the.
So he throws you against the wall.
Then he put me on the ground, choked me. That's happened.
She eventually grabbed a kitchen knife and threw it at him from around 10 feet away in self-defense.
Like, I went to the kitchen and he started like charging at me, and I said like, I'm gonna like this at you. And he goes, do it. And then he charged me and threw, but he was far away, and I never in a million years like.
But investigators quickly found a major problem with that explanation. The medical examiner concluded that Christian suffered a roughly 3-inch deep stab wound to the chest, and investigators said the injury was inconsistent with Courtney's claim that she had thrown the knife at him from around 10 feet away. And suddenly, what Courtney described as self-defense was starting to look very different to investigators. At first, Courtney wasn't arrested. However, she was eventually detained after the stabbing, but while speaking with police, she threatened to take her own life. Investigators spent the next several months going through the evidence and trying to determine whether this was actually self-defense or a homicide that should lead to criminal charges. In fact, a Miami police detective later testified that investigators initially believed the stabbing may have been self-defense, but that changed as they gathered more evidence. But by August of 2022, prosecutors had made their decision. Courtney was arrested in Hawaii and charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon for Christian's death. According to her attorney, Courtney had been in Hawaii receiving treatment for PTSD when U.S. Marshals arrested her, and when the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office announced the charge, they made it clear they did not believe Courtney's self-defense story. Their position was that Christian was unarmed, Courtney was the aggressor, and the physical evidence did match her claim that she had simply thrown the knife at him across the room. Prosecutors also released the elevator footage we saw earlier, arguing that it showed Courtney had a history of physically attacking Christian before his death. And Courtney's attorneys pushed back immediately. They argued that Christian had been abusive toward her, that Courtney had acted in self-defense, and that the elevator footage only showed part of what had been happening inside their relationship. Courtney eventually pleaded not guilty and remained behind bars while the case moved toward trial. And while Courtney sat in jail, Christian's family continued fighting the case from the outside. In April of 2023, his family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Courtney, arguing that she was responsible for Christian's death. And then her lawyers, meanwhile, continued insisting that she was the victim in the relationship and publicly said they fully expected the case to go to trial. They wanted to prove that she acted in self-defense. Then in 2024, the case got even messier. Christian's laptop had ended up with Courtney's family after his death, and eventually Courtney and both of her parents were accused of illegally accessing it. But while all that was being investigated, private messages between Courtney's family and her lawyers got pulled into the case too, and that created a whole new problem, because some of those messages involved how Courtney planned to defend herself in the murder case. Eventually, the separate computer charges against Courtney and her parents were dropped. By 2026, nearly 4 years had passed since Christian was killed, and despite all the time, Courtney still hadn't gone to trial for murder. But instead of finally getting the trial everyone had been waiting for, something completely different happened. In July of 2026, Courtney's attorneys announced that a plea deal had been reached. At first, the details were kept private, but on August 10, Courtney appeared in court and pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The murder charge was gone, and instead of potentially spending decades behind bars, Courtney was sentenced to 6 years in prison. She was also given 5 years of probation. But here's the part that really shocked people. Courtney had already been sitting in jail since August of 2022, so the nearly 4 years she had already served counted toward that 6-year sentence. Meaning after everything, the viral footage, the murder charge, the years of court hearings, Courtney is basically going to be released in around 2 years. And that's how a case that started with Courtney Clenney facing murder ended with a 6-year sentence, which is exactly why so many people looked at the outcome and felt like she basically got away with murder. And personally, I think that's exactly what happened here. I keep thinking about what this case would look like if the roles were reversed. Let's say if Christian had repeatedly been caught hitting Courtney, if she had secretly been recording him, screaming at her and calling her racial slurs, if she had sent messages saying that he stabbed her before, and then she eventually died from a knife wound inside their apartment that was caused by him. Imagine if that happened. I have a hard time believing he would have gotten 6 years. And somehow after everything that happened here, she's basically going to be back on the streets in like 2 years. That is absolutely insane. I think one thing the story goes against is the idea that a man can't really be the victim in an abusive relationship. Like we're seeing in this story, that's obviously not true. I just wish he had gotten out of that situation before it reached this point, because by the time this relationship finally ended, Christian was dead at 27 years old. at the hands of Courtney. And Courtney Clenney walked away with 6 years. So she basically got away with murder. So insane, so insane. But I'm curious what you guys think about this story. I just feel like
Christian and the animal abuse, in my opinion, could be as well. I don't know, but it's very sad. Thank you for your sticker.
To the charge of manslaughter with a deadly weapon, I'm sentencing you to 6 years in the state prison with all applicable credit for time served, followed by 5 years of reporting probation. As a condition of that probation, you will complete a mental health evaluation and all required treatment deemed necessary. You will complete a substance abuse evaluation and complete all required treatment deemed necessary, as well as completing the batter's intervention program within the first year of probation. As I said, there are some other provisions contained within this written plea agreement that will be made part of the judgment and sentence. I'm assessing court costs and any and all statutory and mandatory fines. You will be fingerprinted. We should have DNA on file. Before we turn it to the victim impact portion, is there anything further on behalf of the state?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
Defense?
And it is true that in Florida, inmates have to serve at least 85% of their prison sentence before they can be released. She has just been sentenced to 6 years with 5 years probation. She has served 4 years in jail already. The judge said credit for time served. So that means she's only got 2 years left and only has to spend 85% of that in jail. And then she's out. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is terrible, especially for men who are victims of DV. This is terrible. I hate this.
Yeah, Judge, I would just, as far as corrections in computing her time served, to remember she was initially detained in Hawaii when she was in the rehab facility, so her actual booking date here at TGK does not reflect all of her credit for time served. I don't have the date of arrest, but I believe...
They're going to give her credit for that to you?
The date of arrest in Hawaii was August 10th of 2022, so she should receive all credit for time served from that date moving forward.
Does the state agree?
But Judge, the only issue is going to be, one, there has to be an order for it. Otherwise, it's going to be from the time in which she was brought into custody. So,
right. So if you're in agreement, let's draft an order, credit for time served on August 10th, 2022.
We will do that. We'll have it to your honor today.
All right. Anything further on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'm filing the written plea agreement that I have now initialed and executed with the clerk. I'd like to now turn it over to Ms. Hanfield. But first, I would like to extend my
Victim impact statement. Shame his brother looks just like him. One moment. So 6 years sentenced, 85% she must serve at least 5.1 years total. She's already served 4 years, so that leaves her needing to serve approximately 13 months. Stop it. What? You gonna tell me that she's gonna be out in 13 months? She'll be out by Christmas next year. And then 5 years probation. Oh my word. And Tonya said, sadly, I have a feeling we will see her again. Non-accountability whatsoever. Well, yeah, there's that as well. Thank you for your sticker.
As I stand here to read my victim impact statement, I first give thanks to the Lord Almighty for his protection and guidance over our family throughout these past 4 years. I also want to thank the attorneys, the state attorney's office, Larry Hanfield, and everyone who helped make sure that Christian's voice and our family's voices were heard. I thank our family and our friends who called, prayed for us, checked on us, and stood beside us through this very, very difficult journey. I am Christian's mother. Words can never fully explain how Christian's death has affected my life and the lives of everyone in our family. There is simply too much pain to put on paper. On April 4th, 2022, while I was at work, I received the call that no parent should ever have to receive. I was asked to give consent for my son's eyes to be donated. I had just talked to him the day before and had no knowledge that he had been killed. That was the darkest day of my life. And the darkness continued to unfold as I learned Christian had been killed by his girlfriend, Courtney Clenney, someone he had trusted and loved. Since April 2022, I have lived with fear, anxiety, sleepless nights, heartache, and more tears than I could ever count. Four years later, there are still nights when I cannot sleep. There are moments when my mind goes back to the last moments of Christian's life. As his mother, those thoughts are very difficult for me to carry. There was a joy in my life and in our family's life before Christian died that has never completely returned. His death did not only affect me, however. It affected my entire family, including his older brother, Jeffrey, his cousins, who were raised as siblings, and his grandmother, who loved him so much and called him her precious. We have all had to learn how to live with the empty place that cannot be filled. But I do not want Christian to be remembered only for how he died. Christian was my son. Everyone who knew Christian, who truly knew him, can attest that he was kind-hearted, compassionate, friendly, and respectful. He cared about other people. I remember one day when Christian and I were driving to a store. I stopped and I was going to give a homeless man a few dollars. Christian encouraged me to do much more than that. It was a small moment, but it showed the kind of heart he had. He saw another human being who needed help, and he wanted wanted to make sure that that person had enough. Christian, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that I had the privilege of being your mother. Those are the memories that no one can ever take from us and me. Nothing can erase the pain of the day that I buried my son. Nothing can describe what it feels like for a mother to stand at the grave of her child. There are also the things that will never happen. For me, now that he's gone. The birthdays, the holidays we will not celebrate with him. The conversations we will never have. The person he would have continued to become. Those losses continue much longer after today's court case ends. For more than 4 years, we've lived with the loss every day and waited for accountability. Today closes a legal chapter, but it certainly doesn't close our grief. No sentence, no plea can bring back my son to me. My only hope is to carry his memory forward and to continue healing as a family. My prayer is that after today, Christian will simply not be remembered by the public as a name connected to a criminal case. He was a son, he was a brother, he was a cousin, he was a nephew and a grandson. And he was a friend to a lot of people. He was loved, he had a future, and his life had value and mattered. As a family, we are very private people. We have endured this loss while much of Christian's life and death have been discussed publicly and inaccurately to support a narrative created by Courtney, the person who took my son's life. There are parts of our grief that belong only to us, and I choose to keep those things within our family. But I want this court to understand this much. The loss of Christian did not end on April 4th, 2022. We carry it with us every day. Through everything, I continue to place my faith in God. Christian Toby Obumseli, I know you are with the Lord. Onwane Tilora, as your brother called you, which means the moon in the sky that shines for everyone. That is how I choose to remember you, as a light. Your legacy and your memory will remain with us. We miss you, we love you. May you continue to rest in peace, my son.
Thank you for those beautiful words.
Shame. My goodness. Courtney was trying real hard to squeeze out that tear head. Just really didn't work. She was really trying. No, there were no tears. We saw none of that.
May it please the court. State Representative of the State Attorney's Office, Courtney Clenney. On behalf of the Umberselli family, I would like to read into the record their final comments. April 4th of 2022, Christian Umberselli suffered a painful and tragic death at the hands of the person he loved. Sadly, that would be the person that would ultimately take his life. Christian loved deeply. It was his love that caused him to stay. Even after being previously cut in the face, previously stabbed in the leg by Courtney, he would later write that his love would eventually get him killed. In many ways, he predicted his own death at the hands of Courtney Clenney. Unfortunately, like so many individuals who get caught up in not loving relationship, but just destructive relationship, he stayed. And we are here today because what he believed became a reality. By resolving this case today by way of a plea, Courtney Clenney avoids being judged by a jury of her peers. But that will never be able to escape the ultimate and final judgment for anyone's conduct. That judgment can only be handled by our Creator, our Almighty God. Your actions, you need to know, as you sit here today, and as you finish out serving your time for punishment, that you have left the Ambaselli family with a void that can never be filled. The pain that continues to endure today, as painful as it was when they learned of his untimely death. It is a pain that will never completely go away. A chair where family gathers for holidays will always remain empty. The Ambaselli family has been forced into joining a membership that no family should ever want to be a part of. And as a family of mothers of murdered children. As a family, we still cannot get past the fact that Kristen was stabbed while you remained on the phone with your mom. You then called downstairs to security, and then your third and final call, which should have been your first call, was to 911. In the meantime, you offered no life-saving measures to try to save Kristen's life. To us, that is inhumane. Kristen was someone's son, someone's brother, someone's nephew, someone's cousin, someone's friend, and most importantly, he was deeply loved. His life had meaning. He had a future. And his family deserved to grow old with him. He was robbed of all those things while you still have all yours to enjoy. Nothing can bring Kristen back. Nothing can erase what happened. And nothing can fill the space that will forevermore be left empty. We will carry Kristen's memory, his love, and his legacy with us for the rest of our lives. I thank the court for giving us, as a family, the opportunity to be heard and to let this be a part of the record. But lastly, through it all, we never even received an apology and an acknowledgement for the loss that changed our lives forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayfield. Would anyone else like to speak at this time?
I don't believe so, Judge. Not from the state.
Once again, for the entire family, thank you for being here. Thank you for the beautiful words that we read and what Mr. Hayfield read. Thank you for sharing the collage of pictures of Christian with me. And I really, really pray that his memory is a blessing to all of you. Thank you. Is there anything further on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
Not by the defense, Judge.
Okay. I want to thank the attorneys once again for your diligent preparation and professionalism throughout the process. The court will be in recess at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
And we'll be here fuming for a while. Six years is repulsive, with 4 years for time served. We're gonna talk more now. Damn.
She gets.
I thought I was going to make a cop.
Everything.
Give it to me. The judge is walking Oh, you want to go back?
Plea deal we've watched ever.
You're running out, maybe?
Right? I just want to see what else happens here. Anything else? There's Clenney's parents. Baby girl's gonna get out in a year. Their asses were arrested. They could have faced time. They didn't. She could have faced life in prison. She's not. 6 years with credit for time served. And will only have to serve 85% of her sentence before being released. But next year, Christmas, she's out ready to make Christmas OnlyFans content. And I think she'll get right to it.
Zoom on out.
See you tomorrow, everybody. Same place, 9 o'clock. Don't be late. Don't be late. Yes, sir.
Courtney Clenney settled and dismissed with prejudice in early 2026. So I don't think they got anything there, did they? Settled and dismissed with prejudice. Okay. And then the one against One Paraiso, the condo, the apartment management, that was settled. So I don't know. I don't know what they got for that or not, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to do with this. Okay. 6 years is horrendous. I was bracing myself for a 15-year sentence with time served. I thought she's going to spend like 11 years in prison. I'm like, all right, so she'll be out when she's 41, which was bad enough, or 85% of time served. 39. She's going to be out next year. Wow. Unless she does something really bad in prison. But wow. I can't wait to read your comments as well, because I certainly can't read everyone's. There were a lot of people here. Thank you so much all for being here with me.
about that and why there's such a massive discrepancy between the two. I personally understand why. And I'm very interested to see what y'all think. So let's watch this.
They're gonna push this. Oh, Carmelo got 35 years. Courtney Clenney got 6 years. God damn. You know why she got 6 years? It's called the plea deal. It's called the plea deal for manslaughter, which Carmelo was supposed to go for. Which Carmelo, all the money that they raised for his counsel, the $500,000, that's what the lawyer was supposed to, a plea deal. Get him a plea deal of manslaughter, not take a murder to trial.
Nope.
That's what you get when you go to trial in Texas as a black kid who stabbed a white kid at a track meet, who told police he shouldn't have put his hands on me. I warned him. No, that means that's not self-defense. 35 years when you blow trial. Yeah, he would have got 10 years if he would have pled out for manslaughter. And they're pushing this. Like, yo, the system is broken. That's what it's called, accountability. When you hurry up and say, oh, no, I did that. But let's get this deal. I did it. But manslaughter. Not take it to trial. Black kid, white kid, Texas. And you playing with people time. Trial, it costs. That's why you get your boot smoked when you go to trial. Black people, do y'all notice? Do you notice? Like, and now they promoting this. Like, oh, the system broke because she got 6 years. She did the smart thing by hurry up. Let me get that. Let me take that. Not go to trial and get my head smoked. That's what it's called, accountability. When you hurry up and say, "Oh no, I did that, but let's get this deal. I did it, but manslaughter, not take it to trial." Black kid, white kid, Texas, and you playing with people time. Trial, it costs. That's why you get your boot smoked when you go to trial. Black people, do y'all notice? Do you notice? Like, and now they promoting this. Like, oh, the system broke because she got 6 years. She did the smart thing by hurry up. Let me get that. Let me take that. Not go to trial and get my head smoked.
Spouses in these pictures are dead. All the white spouses alive. Telvin Osborne said he would rather F a dog than F a black woman, but the dog gotta be white. Christian Obumsumi, whatever his last name is, did nothing but all the black spouses in these pictures.
We already saw what he had to say. What do y'all think about how some people are viewing and covering this? And do you think those people were aware that he didn't take a plea when it was offered from the beginning, and why there's such a massive discrepancy in their sentencing? What do y'all think about this?
As a person who's lived in Texas for a very good part of my life, yeah, I agree with the young homie Gotham Ghetto's gospel on this. You wasn't going to win. You decided at whatever moment that you felt so threatened that you jabbed old boy with a knife at a track meet, and Texas started Texasing. There's a saying in Texas, it says, "Don't mess with Texas." There are still sundown towns in Texas. And when you're in an uppity area in Texas and you get on body cam footage and say, "Oh, it's not alleged, I did it." I understand you're emotional. He put his hands on me. Guess what? You make it damn near impossible to put up any type of defense because you blew the first rule. You have the right to remain silent. My father, a cop. My uncle, a cop. My aunt, a cop. My brother, God rest his soul, a cop would all tell you. I don't care how nice they are to you. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're covered in blood and got the weapon on you. Shut up. Name, rank, serial number, and that's it. He screwed himself out of any possible logical defense. His best move was to take a plea deal. Was that excessive? Yeah. Was that 35 years excessive? Yeah, it was. Because I think the kid still had more life to live. However, he effed around and he found out because he put himself in a situation because his daddy didn't do a good job of letting him know how our world actually operates.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
my uncle and my aunt, they're both NYPD captains, and they told all of us, keep your mouth shut. Anything you say can and will be
It's in
used
there.
against you in a court of law.
Law.
It's so bad. These people, they're so ignorant. Like, people in general don't realize the phone calls from the jail are recorded.
For
The
that
phone
very
calls
reason.
from the jail are recorded. Did y'all see that girl who was drunk and she hit the bride on her wedding day on the golf cart and deleted her? She killed her. There's a channel that actually has this girl's video phone calls from the jail. She's bragging about how she's not gonna get in trouble, and I was literally, it's her talking into a camera, snitching on herself. People do not understand anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And if he should have taken that deal, and I think that's one of the things that once people hear that, they really start asking those questions and saying, "Wait a minute, didn't we give them all this money for a lawyer? Why didn't
They
the
got the
lawyer tell
bargain
him?"
basement lawyer.
Yeah,
They took the
yeah,
75 grand lawyer as opposed to the 500 grand lawyer.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And I'm in agreement. And Obsidian, I want to know your thoughts about this whole. I think multiple things could be true at the same time. And Dave and others could be right that it absolutely maybe been a little bit excessive. Maybe it could have been 10 years less than what they gave him, or even 15 years less than what they gave him. But not taking a plea deal with a situation like that, and then black people just look at the end product and say 35 years, 6 years, not factoring in one took a plea deal and one took legal counsel that said, take this to trial.
Right.
After what he said and told the police on body cam. Because remember, he said this in front of the officers on body cam. So they're like, well, maybe he got as long of a sentence because of what he looked like and a variety of different factors. But he could have gotten a third of that just by taking the plea deal. Obsidian, what do you think?
I think that the Carmelo Anthony case needs to be reopened.
Mhm.
I've been quietly following it. There's real concern that there could be a mistrial here because the judge presiding, there seems to be reason to believe that he, was basically biased.